If you want to live the life you've always dreamed of, you've probably realized by now that it's not just going to fall into your lap after meditating or visualizing about it for years on end. You've also probably heard that in order to achieve what you set out to do, you need to set really specific goals for yourself in order to achieve them. And yet a lot of the times that just isn't enough. So recently I've been rethinking what it is that I want to do with my life. Yes, I want to live a fulfilling life. I want to do what I'm passionate about. I want to give to others. I want to make an impact. I want to live comfortably. All those quote-unquote goals that we tend to have for ourselves. But recently I've been rethinking, and I realized that a lot of the goals that I set out for myself have changed so much throughout the years. And so in order to try and untangle that and to make sense of it all and to give myself more clarity and direction, I'm going to focus on designing a life instead of just creating goals. So how this all came about was I realized that the goals I set for myself at the beginning of my self-development journey has changed drastically throughout the years. And I realized it's because those goals are things that I thought I ought to strive for. When setting goals, they often follow a very similar theme, and it's generally because it's all based on the traditional metrics of success. And while yes, those goals are generally better than our current reality, otherwise we wouldn't be making those goals, it doesn't necessarily mean that is exactly what you want. So I realized that I need to change my own definition of success for me and not to base it on traditional metrics or societal expectations. So why is designing a life important, and what makes it different from just general goal setting? Designing a life at its core is a detailed and holistic way of creating goals and the systems of how to get there. When designing a life, we generally look into the future for a set amount of time, generally 5 years, and how we want that to look for us. We visualize and imagine how that life is going to look like and all the details and benefits associated with that life. So now that we know why creating a design your life model is important, let's go on to actually creating one. Before you start designing your life, it is really important that you become super clear on what your values and morals are, as this is going to help you in where and for what you allocate your time towards. And ultimately, it's going to help you create better goals for your design your life model. When deciding on what you want your life to look like, it is super important that you ask yourself different questions than you normally would when creating goals. The quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Tim Ferriss writes about this very idea in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, where he says he used to work a very boring 9-to-5 sales calls job, and that everything changed for him when he asked himself what would happen if he did the exact opposite for 48 hours. So how he did this was, instead of calling from 9 to 5, he called the offices from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and then from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The rest of the time, he did cold emails. He wrote this: "In my last quarter of working there, I outsold the entire LA office of our biggest competitor, EMC. We can also change the way we operate and work by asking ourselves out-of-the-box questions and taking chances to move us towards our preferred designed life. We might even be surprised that if taking chances and thinking outside of the box, our dreamed life might not be as far off as we once thought it was." So instead, when designing our life, do not think limiting beliefs, but think of all the possibilities that could happen. So a helpful tool when designing our life is to distill our life into its most basic components and working from there. And most of our lives can be broken up into 8 different categories, such as physical environment or location, career and business, finance and wealth, friends and family, fun, recreation and entertainment, health and fitness, love life, and personal or spiritual life. You can turn this into a pie chart of 8 slices in order to give you some visual aid. So now that we've written down our 8 basic categories, we can underneath each one of those create subcategories of the most important things that fall under that. For example, under fitness, you might want to put down your dietary plan or your fitness routine. So take some time and write down the most important subcategories of the main 8 factors of our life. If you want to take this exercise a step further, you can even assign a percentage value next to each one of your subcategories of how important it is or how much time you want to allocate to that under the main category. Depending on the importance of that subcategory, you might assign a higher percentage value than other subcategories. After you've taken some time to come up with some subcategories that fall underneath the main factors, You can now create a strategy of how you're going to implement those subcategories into your daily, weekly, or monthly calendar. These new goals that we created for ourselves based on our subcategories are deeply rooted in our values and what we hold important to us. They are not based on other people's opinions nor the traditional metrics of success. This entire process should be a guideline and indicator for what to strive for. We do our best work when we're taking care of all these factors together. So generally, when we're thinking of these great ideas of what our life could be like, we're met with limiting beliefs of our current realities. I'm not saying that in the next 2 years you can become the next Bill Gates if you design your life and you work hard. I am saying do not limit yourself completely and in the end make goals that you aren't even excited to strive for. Once you're done with your goal creation and your system planning, it may be useful to create a one-page diagram of all the steps you need to take in order to get to your goals. This is just to help remind you of what steps you need to take in order to get there and what you're striving towards, because it's very easy in the day-to-day activities to forget what it is we're working towards. Okay, so the last part of the Design Your Life model is creating an Odyssey plan. So to create an Odyssey plan, get a journal and write down everything you can think of how your life is going to look in the next 5 years if you pursue the path that is in front of you. Some questions you can ask yourself while creating this Odyssey plan is, what are you doing for a living? What is your salary like? Where are you living? Who are you surrounded by? What are your hobbies? How's your relationships? How's your health? Etc. This is your basic Odyssey plan A, and it's your most likely plan of action. This should come to you really easily if you did the previous steps. Now create a second Odyssey plan called Odyssey Plan B. Odyssey Plan B is basically if Plan A is completely null and void. Say AI has taken over your job and has made Plan A obsolete now. So Odyssey Plan B would be if you decided to pursue one of your other strong passions for the next 5 years, how your life would look if you did that instead. Again, asking yourself the same questions as in Odyssey Plan 1. What would you do if you had to pursue something different that you still would enjoy for the next 5 years? Alright, lastly, Odyssey Plan C, and probably the most fun one. This Odyssey plan is what your life would look like if money and societal expectations didn't exist at all or wasn't a problem. People do like asking this question a lot, so it should kind of come to you fairly easily what it is that you want to do. So again, asking yourself the same questions as the previous two, write down everything you can think of how your life would look in the next 5 years if you decided to follow that route. So if you haven't already, go pause this video and write your Odyssey plan and then come back and watch the rest. I'll wait. Now that you're done with this exercise, sit back and read through them again and see if there's any overlaps or similarities, any recurring themes or values that you see in those lists. This should affirm to you that whatever the overlap was might be more important to you than you originally thought. You might even realize that you're more drawn to Odyssey Plan B than you were to Odyssey Plan A, and this may make you want to rethink your current path and make some much needed changes. The other side benefit to doing this is that you realize that you've got more options than you thought before. Generally, we tend to have this all or nothing approach to most things in life, such as if I don't make it as ABC, then I'm a failure and I won't amount to anything in life. Or maybe that's just me. But having these options, you realize, okay, if option A doesn't work out for whatever reason, I still have other options. Once your Odyssey plans are written down and you've decided what you want to pursue, then start by reaching out to people who've accomplished what you want to accomplish or are living the life you want to live. Don't be discouraged. The worst thing that can happen is they tell you no. But your future is already out there. Other people are already living it. It's just up to you to go and find those people and ask them for advice on how did they get there and what advice do they give to you in order to get there too. If at all possible, maybe try shadowing people in the career that you want. Or if that's not possible, do as much research as possible on what it is that you want to do. Doing this research will move you from fantasy to reality and will make you realize maybe it isn't what I want, or it will reaffirm to you that it's definitely what you want. Once you've made your decision and you've focused, don't give yourself a way out. Yes, you do have different Odyssey plans, but that still falls under our greater plan for designing a life. When you give yourself the option to backtrack, you greatly decrease your potential for happiness. This is because you'll always wonder if you made the right choice. And you get so caught up in that thinking that you start to resent the choice that you've already made. If you see a flaw in your plan or circumstances change, adapt, change your plan and move on. But the principles of lifestyle design will stay the same. Something that might be worthwhile doing after you finish creating your Odyssey plans and you're still not feeling very motivated is to think about or even write down what would happen over the next 5 years if you did the exact opposite of what you need to do to get to your desired life. It's probably a very terrible life. This is something to keep in mind and to run away from. Humans are generally motivated by 2 types of things: avoiding pain and pursuing pleasure. Writing down our Odyssey plans gave us pleasure and something to look forward to, but remembering the exact opposite of it gives us pain and something to run away from. It is important when doing these exercises to not stress too much or worry about what is going to happen into your future. There is so much evidence to suggest that millennials will have multiple different careers in their lives, just based on how the world is changing at such a rapid rate. So designing your life is probably going to be a never-ending process as your life evolves and changes over time. I would like to leave you with a quote from Steve Jobs that says this: "You cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back." So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. So do not doubt your plan on face value. Trust that in the future things will align and that making these preparations now are putting you on the right path. So that does it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you got some value out of it. If you did, please leave a like and a comment below on how it helped you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.